Today I want to talk about how to create a sensory diet. Before I start, I'd like to thank the members of the Purple People, my YouTube club. For a monthly fee, they support me as a creator, and as a thank you, I offer the following perks: custom emojis and badges, a Purple Ella or Coco vinyl sticker, an exclusive monthly video just for them, and a new perk: I've opened up a private Discord server for the Purple People to have a community where we can chat and support each other. So if this is something that sounds interesting to you, click the join button to find out more. Neurodivergent people, that is people with autism, ADHD, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, dyslexia, Tourette's, might also have sensory processing difficulties. Sensory processing difficulties occur when our brain has trouble receiving, processing and responding to information we receive from our senses. Difficulties with sensory processing can affect one, multiple or all of our senses. By senses, I mean hearing, touch, taste and sight. I also mean the lesser known sense of vestibular. This involves part of the ear and the brain, which is responsible for balance and eye movements. Proprioception, which is the body's ability to perceive its own position in space. Proprioception makes it possible for me to do this. And finally, interoception, which is a sense or awareness of what's going on inside our body. It means that we know when we're cold, hungry or in pain. When we have difficulty with one or more of these senses, we might under-register sensory input, which means we might not notice if we're cold or in pain. Or we might over-register sensory input, which means that loud noises could be unbearable or having our hair brushed could be incredibly painful. But it's not as straightforward as being either one or the other. We might over-register on some sensory input and under-register on others. We might even over-register and under-register the same sensory input at different times. It can be a changing picture. Difficulties with sensory processing can affect our physical and our mental health. And it can also affect our behaviour. It can prevent us from accessing things, and ultimately it can lead to shutdowns, meltdowns, overload and even burnout. I already made a video about the consequences of sensory overload, which I'll link to in the description box. So, what is a sensory diet and what are the benefits of having one? A sensory diet is a programme of sensory activities which we do each day to make sure our body is receiving the input that it needs. Committing to including a sensory diet into your schedule might benefit you by helping you to self-regulate alertness and increase your attention span, calm your central nervous system and reduce anxiety, contribute to avoiding overload, shutdown, meltdown or burnout. Ideally, a sensory diet would be planned for you by an occupational therapist, but for some people this might be financially prohibitive, or there might be a really long waiting list. So I'm going to share some ideas and information for those of you who'd like to include a sensory diet in your life. The first step to planning a sensory diet is to work out what your needs are. It might help to keep a sensory diary for a few weeks. Notice sensory related impact on your life. Do you find yourself chewing your sleeves? Getting irritable after spending time in noisy environments or struggling to focus in meetings? Make notes of what happened when and what the consequences were for you. If you start by identifying your sensory needs, then you can meet them with your sensory diet. The next step is to plan your sensory diet, incorporating sensory activities that meet your needs throughout the day. Most sensory activities are either stimulating or calming, but the same activity could be stimulating for one person or calming for another. So if you're struggling to sit still during a meeting or feeling high levels of anxiety through the day, you need to incorporate a calming activity. If you're finding it hard to motivate yourself to do an activity or get out of bed, then you might need a stimulating activity. I would recommend your sensory diet needs some activities which you definitely do every day. For example, using your weighted blanket to relax in the evenings or dancing to energising music every morning. In addition to this, I would keep an ad hoc list of sensory activities that you can use to respond to particular feelings or situations. Here is an example sensory diet. This person needs to energise themselves in the morning, so they're going to eat some crunchy chewy cereal and dance around to their favourite high energy music. At lunchtime, they also tend to have an energy dip, so they're going to bounce around on their yoga ball and have a cup of peppermint tea, even if they don't drink it, just for the scent. In the evening, they might feel overloaded, so they're going to use their weighted blanket and their calming, noise-reducing headphones. This is when you'll use your sensory diary to work out what you need and when. What sensory needs are typically occurring and at what time. Then you can plan your daily sensory diet based on your usual patterns. The ad hoc list will be useful for when, for whatever reason, your sensory needs have changed that day. This could be due to a change in demand or a change in schedule, or sometimes for no discerning reason at all. I hope you found this video useful. Do let me know your thoughts about sensory diets. Do you already have one, or do you think you might think about developing one? I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't already, then please consider subscribing to my channel. Additionally, you can click the notification bell, which will make sure that you don't miss my next video.